Sir, I would like to request 2 more minutes, sir.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. So I think we are ready to start. We have a substantial number.
Okay.
So, good morning, sir, and welcome. I'm hoping everyone in my batch is awake right now in this hour of morning, so that I can take the moment to introduce you on the behalf of this GMP batch of 2021. Guys, I would like to welcome Dr. DK Venkatesh. Sorry, Mr. DK Venkatesh. He is the Global Delivery Head of Healthcare and Life Sciences at Virtusa. He's a Senior Global Technology Delivery Head with close to 30 years of career span. He has been delivering digital and cloud transformation services to Fortune 500 companies. The industries he served include communications, high tech, media and entertainment, utilities, chemical, oil and gas, healthcare, life sciences, and insurance. He has managed teams as big as 6,000 people and managed a delivery portfolio of numbers that we only dream of. Any guesses? $1 billion. Mr. Venkatesh is a NASSCOM regional committee member, and before joining Virtusa, he has previously worked with Accenture, Hewlett Packard, Emphasis, and ABB. He is a personal and leadership coach to the youth of today. Sir, we sincerely hope you would give us tips and love our batch enough to coach us to success. I would now like to request Mr. Venkatesh to address the batch. Sir.
Thank you very much, Shurbi. Thanks for giving the opportunity. And for the next few minutes or more than an hour, I think it's blocked around 90 minutes. Maybe I'll spend a lot of minutes focusing on healthcare. So off late, I've been working at least 3 to 4 years in the healthcare space, and really it's growing space. And a lot of technology is being involved. And some of you may have experience in that, some of you may not have. But nevertheless, I think each one of us will touch the healthcare technology in some way or other. I think I thought this is a good topic to really tell you what is happening in this industry, and also with this pandemic kind of thing, what are the different things we also are working on the technology perspective. Right, it will be interesting because the likes of Google and everybody are really working on this space. So with that, I will start my deck. Let me share my deck. Let me know if you are able to see. I think I'll share the desktop itself so that everybody can see this.
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let me minimize this. Are you able to see this now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So really, before going into this healthcare, so what is really healthcare is all about? What we do in healthcare. I mean, globally, healthcare industry is different things, right? So one is it's called as payer. What is payer? I'll come to that. Then next is provider, and then third one is more of analytics and other space in healthcare. So what is payer? Payer is nothing but where really we do the health insurance, and then we do claims, and they pay for whatever we have insured for. So all the underwriters, everything like the insurance, health insurance is nothing but the payer. And then provider. Provider is nothing but in India terms, it's more of like a proctor and other things where you have doctors assigned, and then in your medical network, in your health insurer network, there are doctors and clinics and hospitals are all networked, right? So those are the things are providers. So how do we really onboard a provider? How do we really take the provider, certify the provider, credentialize the provider? How do we have contracts with the provider? That is including a doctor or a clinic or a hospital. How do we do that? So those are more of the provider space. And then the last one is more of the analytics. On top of that, there are a lot of analytics we need to do, AI, ML, all those things, analytics we do to really ensure that the healthcare is getting up to speed on what is happening in the market. So that is what I just want to give you a very high level, because some of you may know, but I want to make everybody on the same page. So, so this is not a sales talk, but just want to give a glimpse of what kind of different industries we are working on from Virtusa perspective. And then it's good to know for you what we are doing right now. So as we speak, we are in 6 out of top 15 pharmaceutical companies, including a company which is producing so-called vaccine for COVID. So that is also we are working on. We also work with med device and distributors. It's more like a med device. Anything will come to the med device. There are a lot of interesting projects we have done, which will be very interesting. So I will talk about that. Then I talked about the healthcare insurers, more like a Anthem and those kind of people. And predominantly, because I right now manage more of Americas, so I'm talking more from the Americas landscape, but I will try to relate to an Indian context what it is all about. And then let it be interactive, or maybe we can ask the questions later, but keep your questions. We can discuss at the end. Then we have hospital systems. A lot of hospitals need to be credentialized, certified, all those kind of stuff is there. So how do we do that? So we are working on there also. Then there are a lot of patient adherence platforms for patient. A lot of things are there which I'll talk about. Pre and post operative surgical platforms. I'll show a video also. It's available in the public website, which we can really look into it. Then schedule of sample collections, all those things. It's all healthcare related and disease control, those kind of things. And then also we have done a lot of work on the emergency response elderly, because a lot of people are aging, and then the aging population across the globe needs a lot of attention, and a lot of focus is there on the healthcare because insurance is very high for them. How do we really ensure that for the amount they are paying, we are able to take care of them? So these is a kind of a landscape which we are doing. We talk HLS meaning healthcare and life sciences. That is what it's all about. And then predominantly in the space, around 85% of my work is on digital and cloud transformation. So that is how more of digital transformation I'm focusing on. This is just to give you a glimpse of what are the different clients. I will talk about each client, what we do. One is products, benefits, enrollment. That is the different products of the insurance. What are different things are there available? What are the benefits of the products, and then enrollment, how do you enroll in a particular product? So that is what is all about. So we have Health First, it mainly focuses on the East, Northeast in US, mainly New York and other space. Then there is HCSC, this is all Blue Cross, Blue Shield, that's how they call. It's all HCSC, this is in Chicago, we do work for them. Then there are multiple other players in the space. It doesn't mean that we work only on that, but these are the prominent projects what we have done for them, right? And also still working with them. And provider network operations, it's Humana, then Health First, Centene is another big one. PLM, what is PLM? PLM, I think we have heard in a different context, but here PLM is more of provider lifecycle management. So I talked about provider. Provider is more of doctors, hospital, clinic. How do you really onboard them, credentialize them? How do you appeals and grievances will be there? All those things, kind of things, which we need to really handle it. So that's more of PLM and prospecting. Then Anthem, that's a big one, very big one, which we do work with them, and multiple spaces, including more of call center automation. A lot of things need to be done. At the end of the day, if you really see what is important is when you do a claim, how fast the claim is coming out, right? You would have experienced for yourself or for your family members or some relatives or friends that when somebody is getting discharged from the hospital, everything is fine from the doctor's side, but we wait a lot of time to really get discharged. I think some of you would have experienced that. So why it is happening? Because of all this insurance, how they deal with the things. So it creates a lot of dissatisfaction in the system. So a lot of technologies and a lot of process requirements are there to really ensure that they are all discharged faster. As the doctor says, go ahead, and then we discharge faster. How do we clear them faster? I think that is important. I think some of us in Indian context also, we have seen those kind of things, right? So I'll talk about that, how we are doing that. Then Cigna, it's more of the claims pricing platform. How do we do that? Health First, again, Health First, if you see a lot of things we have done in Health First across all the life cycle of the healthcare. The claims automation we have done. Then United Health Group is another big one where we are doing multiple things, a lot of technologies involved, including the Salesforce, which I will talk about later. Health Now is another one, but recently this Health Now was bought by another big giant, more of in the health industry. The customer service, again, this is more of call center automation, customer relationship management. At the end of the day, how customers are happy about what the services you are providing, that is more important. Then we have done Aetna, another call center integration. So that is another one which we have done. Health First, Philips. This is where the elderly people from the Philips Lifeline, what we have worked on. There is Zimmer Biomet. This is Zimmer is another organization where it's more of they do transplant bones and other things. So Zimmer, we'll talk about that. Another one is Alair and Ultragenyx. Ultragenyx is more of pharma, where the care management we are working on. And again, these are all more of touching the patients and providers. The last one is more of how do you really manage all these things. Some of you would have been technologists. In the technology perspective, here we do a lot of this data is required. It's more called as EMR, EHR, electronic medical record, electronic health record, which is really required and it's available and it's all mandated in a particular format. And also there are different system interoperability, different system. When they transfer this data across different systems, they need to be in a particular XML format and it's all defined. So it's all through EDI. So those kind of things are all available in public net also, which need to be done, followed in US regulation. Those things we do from this perspective. And also a lot of robotics are required because when we do this claims processing and things, a lot of, we talk about RPA and stuff, that's all needed. If you really see healthcare industry, I mean, if you're a technologist, just knowing about technology is not enough. You need to really understand the process, understand how really they do from the knowledge of the healthcare. There are a lot of nitty-gritties in this and a lot of regulations depending upon the country to country. A lot of those things also need to be there in your mind when you're implementing a system for this. So I can say that my team has got a lot of knowledge on this. And also if you want to be really in the healthcare industry, I think it's the right time to be because this is the industry which is growing. And also I would like to add that during this COVID situation, right, a lot of industry would have seen would have come down because they're not able to operate because of all the shutdowns and things. But this industry, in fact, invested more. Of course, the cost they reduced, but invested more because a lot of patients, a lot of things happen, a lot of providers we need, a lot of clinics we needed, right? So those are the kind of things which added. And also pharma is growing, even in Indian stock market. If you really see, the pharma stocks are growing. Why? Because all this has become in the front of everything. I think you will see a lot of growth in next 3 to 5 years in this industry. Okay. So this is just I gave a glimpse of what are the different works we do. Okay, I'll give you more detail what exactly we do in these things. I talked about this Anthem, right? Anthem, it's nothing but more of from the call center automation. And what we have done is, because at the end of the day, everybody is measured on TAT, more of turnaround time, right? So from the time when I start the claim process, how much time it will take for you to really reimburse or give the money back to me from the claim based upon my approval, eligibility, all those kind of stuff, right? So in that, if you really see, what we have done is we have reduced from several days to a couple of days, 1 or 2 days, the claim process itself. And then there are a lot of different steps involved in that. Every step we have ensured that a lot of days. These are all possible because we do understand the process integrities, and also we need to understand how this process works and how we really can automate, and also ensuring that all the regulations all are followed, right? It's all important. So how do you really automate? So this involves more of robotics and also digital process automation. So we use a lot of technology around the healthcare industry itself, uses a lot of technology around Pega. If you know Pega, it's more of BPM tool, and this is used, and also we use more of Salesforce also. So this is how we're able to achieve an Anthem, and we do multiple works in Anthem now. Then another one which we do really work is IBM Watson Health. It was called True1 before, and we continued our work with IBM Watson Health, and we still continue. And of course, Watson itself, I think you'll be able to resonate with a lot of this AI cognitive things. And we do, because IBM Watson Health really focuses on analytics space. And also there are certain products, what they do is really required for the hospital credentialization, and then hospital certification, which is required. So we do work on that. They have huge data, EHR, EMR data. So because when you have this EHR, EMR data, which I'll talk in detail, we need to also really understand when the provider space, the hospital need to understand when for example, in the Indian environment, right? Let us take a commercial example like a retail industry. So when a lot of sales will happen during some festivities, right? During October, Diwali, those kind of times, festivity happens, and then they need to have the supply chain really be on top. A lot of supplies need to be there. Anyway, forget about this year, but generally this is the time when really it happens, right? So how do you really do? Similarly, you can understand from Indian context that there are rainy times and those kind of times when the dengue kind of thing starts, and then we know when some other diseases will spread. So those kind of things need to be known. So these are all available in the EHR, EMR data analytics. And then that will tell you that, okay, what you can expect the peak size, which location, which area can be there. And then depending upon that, you can really ensure that more doctors are available during that time. So a lot of things goes behind that planning, right? So this is also more on the scheduling and other things. The AI cognitive ability really helps us that. So that I just want to give you a perspective on what all the work goes behind those things, right? When there is an hospital and doctors and others are available, how they are really planned. Then J&J, this is DeepView Synthesis we talk about. This is really digital surgical platform. I'll try to show a video, whether you're able to see or not. I think the video you'll be able to see, but the volume, I don't know, but let me check that. I think, let me show that now so that it is easy for you. Are you able to see this now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so this is available in the public. You can go to J&J and then see this. Only thing, I don't know whether volume I will be able to play. Let me know whether you're able to hear the volume. Are you able to hear?
Not yet, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So this is, I'll do one thing. I'll go with the slides. Whoever is the coordinator, I can ping that you can see whether this can be, there is a chat.
So maybe you can share the URL in the chat box.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Okay. So if you can, somebody can play this video with the volume, because I'm not able to play, then it will be good.
Yes, sir. We'll look into it. Just
Yeah.
give,
So
give us a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Meanwhile, I'll carry on. Once you are ready, let
Yes,
me
sir.
know. Yeah. So we'll talk about the digital surgery, how it is done, because it's all very intrusive and also really helps. And then we have gone from, we started with more of knee surgery. Now we have gone to hip surgery. This is all digital surgical platform. That's what we call. And then FMC, Fresenius Medical Care. I think if you are aware of what is this all about, Fresenius have 80% of the dialysis machines across the globe. And then you'll be surprised that there are some diabetic patients in which they have personal dialysis machines at home. And how do we do work there? So a lot of things happens here, right? So we have done multiple things in FMC. So FMC is a product. And if you go even in our hospitals in India, a lot of these things are done. And you can see FMC, Fresenius Medical Care product is available, the renal dialysis machine. So what really happens here is at home, there'll be not like India, right? You have multiple people at home or at least 2-3 people at home. A lot of people may be single and elderly, and how do you really help them? So what we do is all remote diagnosis. So they know the process, how to really put in and then start the dialysis, because they need to do at least once in 2 days, because they cannot come to the clinic or hospital every now and then. So it's all personal dialysis machine. So what we do is we really collect the stats, basically medical stats. That's called statistics stats. And then that we really write in the embedded programming in the chip. And then we really take that to IoT. And then from IoT to cloud. And then what we do is from the cloud, we have given options to clinicians and the doctors to really see how dialysis is going on. So once they are able to see if something goes wrong, they will tell the patient that please stop it. So also we have created a lot of alarms and other things. It's all really life critical things what you need to do. And these testing of these software, whatever we develop, will go for 6 months. It's called verification and validation. And then even if it is one bug is coming, then we have to again start fresh and then again fix it and then again do it, right? So it's not easy and very difficult, because it's a life critical, because nothing should go wrong. It should be 99, it should be 100%, but 99.5969, that kind of stuff we need to have in this, right? Because it's, we cannot, because it's all life threatening thing. So that's the kind of work what we do really in FMC. And last one is just to give you what we do and how we have performed outside, how we are recognized in the market. So are you able to see that, J&J?
Yes, sir. Just give us a minute. We are looking into it for sharing the audio.
Okay. So I'll go through the next slide then.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There are multiple things which we do. One is population health management. I think this we have done in several areas. Then care management coordination. I talked about risk stratification. This is mainly how the disease comes, in which area, how it is going, what is the risk of spreading, all those kind of things we can really do with a lot of your AI ML model, and then analyze which area in US or any country where if you have the records, because EHR EMR is mandatory in US. But if you really ask me, in India, we are not yet there, right? Because we don't know. If you go to one doctor to other doctor, they don't know. We have to tell everything. If you have the file, then it is fine. But otherwise, you have to start from fresh that, okay, I had this issue, I had that issue, and finally now we are here. So we don't have that mandate. So, but slowly that mandate also will start coming here, right? Then we have this care management and coordination, a lot of things what we have done. Then patient management, and then last one is provider management. I'll talk about this patient management module. So initially, this is a startup company and it's available in public information. You can go and see about this company. And we collaborated with the startup and we work with the startup. Initially, what happened is we focused on the insurance industry. Insurance industry, you really see some of the claims will be fraudulent claims also. How do you really reduce the fraudulent claims, right? Because a lot of claims comes with the fraud. How do you reduce, identify, do it? And there is something called as worker compensation. So when a worker is having an issue, a health issue, or some impact in the factory or anywhere, and the worker during the work, and they're liable for the group insurance. How do you really ensure that that worker gets the benefit? And how do you also ensure that really it happened for the worker and it happened during the work hours, right? And also in a working spot. How do you do that? So we started with that, and then we created a lot of things there. I will go to the module. So this is what is module all about. So module is a smart belt, and then we came with a smart glove. So we have given a smart belt, which really ensures that the data is gathered from the worker from location perspective, how the movement of the worker is, whether any movement the worker is doing which is not right. Those kind of things will be gathered, and also alarm will be given to the supervisors and other people. And based upon that, the worker need to correct it. And also we can see when the impact happened to the worker, let us assume that worker is taking some heavy lifting and then doing heavy lifting, sometimes more or something happens to the worker. Did it happen at a time when we see that? Then the smart belt data will let us know that, okay, yes, we have a Bluetooth in which we can connect and then see what time that impact happened, and then whether the daily impact, the worker did the right thing or the worker did in a different way. All those data is collected to ensure that the fraudulent claim doesn't happen, right? And then also we have started using this smart glove. At the end of the day, these are all needed to be, one is mandated. And then also, I think the workers need to agree on this, right? I mean, it's all intrusive, personal intrusive things which need to be done. But if you're not really agreeing on the smart belt and smart glove, then your insurance will change, premium will change. So naturally, what will happen is you will agree to this so that your insurance is intact. You are not paying more premium for that, right? So, but some people can say that, no, it's intrusive, I won't use this. But if you don't use this, then you will not get insurance. So that's how it is, right? So otherwise, the fraudulent claims. So using this, a lot of fraudulent claims have come down, and also worker safety also have improved, because now we are able to really not tell what happened reactively, but proactively we can tell that, hey, can you change your posture? Can you change the way you're taking things and placing things, mainly for the factory workers? A lot of these things we do. So that's how you can see the stack of technologies. Who are all technologies in this call can see what are the different technologies we are using in this. So, and also the business model is completely different. So we have entered an agreement with them, because we are from the startup, we are working with them. Depending on how many belts they sell, we get some revenue from that. So that's a kind of a model what we have done. Are you able to get that video?
Yes, there is one option, if you could try.
Okay.
In the share screen button, if you click, there is an option to share PC audio.
Share PC audio more, yeah.
Yeah, so when you share PC audio,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, now let me know whether you're able to see this.
Care team during their knee or hip
Yes,
arthroplasty journeys.
Yes, sir, we can.
Through VELUS Insights, you and your care team can provide patients with
Okay, let me start from first.
As part of the broader VELUS digital surgery platform, VELUS Insights and VELUS Patient Path is a digital care solution that assists patients in staying engaged with their care team during their knee or hip arthroplasty journeys. Through VELUS Insights, you and your care team can provide patients with pre-op and post-op action plans and educational materials, as well as remote communication. VELUS Patient Path is the companion mobile app that patients use to access those action plans and educational materials, as well as remotely communicate with their care team before and after surgery. Let's take a look at the VELUS Insights web-based portal for care teams. Upon logging in, the patient dashboard provides a convenient overview of all patients, displaying those with the highest number of alerts first. These alerts provide further details. Each patient record displays information entered by the care team or by the patient through their VELUS Patient Path app, such as VAST Pain. To help your care team with discharge planning, the patient's responses to the wrapped survey are displayed, including their likely discharge destination. You can view the patient's progress with their assigned pre- and post-op action items, as indicated through their VELUS Patient Path app. You can conveniently review patient progress after surgery. The post-op monitoring page displays range of motion for knee patients, vast pain, daily walking steps, incision photos, and patient-reported outcome measures such as KOOS Jr. or HOOS Jr. as entered by the patient in their VELYS Patient Path app. Graphs enable an easy viewing of trends, allowing the care team to directly engage with patients. The Communication tab shows the patient's contact information, their connection status, and any photos shared by the patient all in one place for easy access. Patients can send images of their clearance letters, medications, incisions, and range of motion through their VELYS Patient Path app. Your care team can view these images and provide feedback directly to the patient. VELYS Insights and VELYS Patient Path have been developed to allow remote communication between patients and their care team. Together, these digital solutions assist the patient's engagement with their care team before and after knee or hip arthroplasty.
Okay, so coming back, so this is exactly what we have done, and completely we're talking about this digital surgery platform which I talked about, because there are a lot of things can be done better if you do a pre-operation view and then a post-operation view, and then how we really manage everything remotely. Because really right now, if you really see, even some of you experience in India also, now it's all telemedicine, right? Doctors, because of the pandemic, what is going on, they're not ready to really look into a patient. They are doing in a video, right? So those kind of things are, I think it will become more and more common when you go forward, right? Future years is going to be like that. And then this is really creating that kind of a platform for the future. And then we completed digital for hip, for the knee, that what you saw in this video. And then now we are working on the hip surgery. So the same thing. So we will talk about more about that. Are you able to see my deck?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we were talking something here and what we do. And there are multiple things we do here. I think I'll pick up a few things. Yeah, this IBM CDQM, CDEQM, it's nothing but some of the softwares which it's all product in hospitals, which is really required to certify the quality measurement there and report. They have to report regularly. So these are the things which we have developed along with IBM. And these are all really in multiple hospitals, and we are in a different kind of a revenue model. It's more kind of a rev share model, depending upon how we sell to hospitals. Some of the things that we also sell, these are all go to market along with IBM. So that's what we do here, right? And then end-to-end PLM. PLM is provider lifecycle management. How do we really start and onboard a provider, a doctor, or a clinic or a hospital? How do you really credentialize based upon their experience and other things, and then certify, yes, they are good to really get into this network? And then how do we really arrange a contract with them based upon their hours spent, or how the surgery or observations or whatever the kind of work they are going to do, doctors, based upon that some contract need to be fixed, and then onboarding that person into the network. And then from then on, how do we really pay? And then any issues are coming, appeals and grievances, how do you really handle that? So all those kind of things happens here. So that's more of the provider lifecycle management, right? Okay, we talked about the module. This is more of explaining what really I talked about, enhancing the worker safety and productivity. Because it's not only the safety, and also it increases the productivity, because the kind of posture the person needs to be there. So those kind of things also changes. A lot of things we really give advice on how it should be done. And this is very useful for both from initially, as I told you, that it started with the insurance industry, but finally now it is in the health industry also, because it helps people to really be fine. And also now health insurers are also buying this to really mainly for the worker things in the group insurance. So they have started doing that. So this is just to give you more things, what are the different things available in the belt. It's accelerometer, how fast you are moving, then gyroscope, and then magnetometer, humidity sensor. I mean, this is also to just to give you the data that, okay, was it very humid, that's why it slipped or something. So those kind of things also. A lot of permutation, combination, a lot of this data is very useful to analyze a particular incident, how it happened, and maybe these are the certain factors also would have influenced this person to have that impact injury, right? So those are the things. This pressure sensor is very important because that is where we really get a lot of measurement and say that, okay, hey, you're going down, you're bending too much, or you're bending in the sideways too much. All those kind of stuff we really track from there. And also the GPS is just to ensure that whenever the claim is made is in the factory or the work location, not elsewhere, right? So those are the kind of things which really gets it. It has become like a more of both from hospital, more from the, let us say, from the health industry perspective. How do you really ensure that proactively we advise people not to stress too much this side or that side, those kind of things from the factory mainly. Second thing is also from insurance industry, the fraudulent claims, how we can reduce. So these are the different things which has been done in this belt. So I will go to the VLife platform, which we are really proud of what we have created, and we have created with multiple, many institutions. I will talk about that. This is nothing but more of your AI ML encompassing of different things. I'll talk more into that and what we have done. This is more of synthetic data and other things which we can really analyze, and then we have used it for multiple industries. And we started with life sciences and healthcare industry, but now we are starting to spread into different industry. These are all IP of the Virtusa what we have done. So where we have really used this VLife and where we really focused on this, right? From the business solution perspective, if you really see any diabetic issue or any orthopedic issue, from any joint pain or joint things, those kind of issues, renal issue we talked about, then oncology, and any infection, COVID-19 also we have done some work on that. Okay, so these are all the therapies what we have really focused on. And from methodology's perspective, what we have done is we have done multiple things. I'm not going to read everything, but it's all cloud, AWS, more of Amazon cloud. And what we have done is we have worked with multiple research institute and also some universities, academic universities. And we have done this data because we have a lot of synthetic data, the EMR, EHR, which I talked about earlier, and also the claims data and commercial data, what we have. And took that and then created some kind of a data mapping and data shape. And then we created all the open source technologies, and then we did the AI on that, and also arrived with algorithms and ML, using MLs, because we have to create a model on which how it is really looking like from the market. When you let us take a type 2 diabetes. So we need to understand that, okay, how many patients are there, which location are more, why it is more, how it is more, and then what are the data influences this type 2 diabetics, and what are the treatment for them. There are multiple things. We really see on the right side, right? It will be useful for multiple things. Patient engagement. How do you really engage with a diabetic patient? We talked about personal dialysis machine. How do you really do that? And then clinical trials. How much time this person needs to go to the clinical hospitals and other things, clinics, what need to be done, those kind of things. And also from commercial analysis, because from the medical equipment manufacturer and also from clinics, they're commercial, whether it's viable to put in a clinic in this location with type 2 diabetic treatment, whether it's viable for that. So that is the kind of another analytics we do. Then bioinformatics also. And from the payer's perspective, I talked about what is payer, right? More of insurance. So how do you really engage the member, and then appeals and grievances, because they will have a lot of compliance and issues. How do you really solve that? Then claims analytics, how fast, because I talked about that, more of the claims coming in, how the turnaround time can be closed. And also payment integrity, how do you really pay to the right people, no fraudulent claims are there, how do you really kill that, those kind of things. And from provider perspective, I talked about the doctors' clinics, how do you really population health. So it will give you which location, which county, which district, which province, all those kind of things that help when we can really expect some kind of a spread, some kind of flu, those kind of things we can talk about. And then also we engage chatbots and telehealth. I talked about the telehealth. So those kind of things are also part of the service line. Then we do some analytics. Obviously, everything will have some analytics, so that is one. And provider life cycle. So these are all integrated in this VLife. So VLife is nothing but a kind of a product, what we have, and also a solution model. So it has got different APIs and accelerator, which people can really use it. It also will be in the open source. We can also host it. It's more of a data as a service. We have a lot of data for this, whatever service line they want to really work on. So they can take this data, use the API, and then we can also monetize those things. So that's the kind of model what we have come with. So this is from the business perspective. From a solution perspective, we really see nothing changes. Only thing you need to understand, there are from healthcare and life sciences customers, we focus on the medical device companies like FMC, Boston Scientific, those kind of things. Then biopharma companies like Regeneron and other companies, you have Johnson & Johnson, you have Roche Pharmaceuticals, all those kind of things. Then healthcare companies, I talked about Anthem and others. So those are the healthcare companies. So those are the companies which are our clients. For them, we have this data pre-trained models and tools and data and framework and innovation research APIs. So I talked about the APIs, which is all coming out of all these models and tools. So we really work with them and then ensure that particular APIs are all used. How do you really also ensure that this is the right one? So we do work with multiple academic research institutes, which I'll talk in the next slide. And then we work with them and then come up with some kind of model, which they also agree and they give, because they're all futuristic. It's nothing like we are doing for today's world. Obviously, one for today, one for tomorrow. So that's how we really focus on in this space, especially healthcare and life sciences space, right? So we need to really focus on tomorrow. So that is how it is. A lot of these things we have involved. For example, I will give you, it's not in the slide, but I'll give you what we have done also, right? A lot of POCs have been done. Some have been progressed well, some have been going slow. See, again, it's all linked to the healthcare and insurance industry also, right? Because they need to ensure that, for example, you are having an issue and you're going to a doctor and then doctor prescribes a medicine. And then that medicine, your doctor gives that medicine. You take that medicine, but you are not taking as per the doctor's given prescription, like, for example, a morning one and evening one kind of tablet, but you're not taking it regularly. And again, you're going and complaining, doctor, that it's not cured. Can you treat me again, right? So these are all because of your lack of following things. The insurance expense also goes. So how do you really insurance ensure that this is also curtailed? So then they came up with some kind of a POC where there is called as more of a blister pack, because it's all Bluetooth enabled. When you really tear off the medicine, right? When you tear off any medicine, immediately the Bluetooth track, it tells you really, okay, one thing is open. Whether you take it inside or not, that is not visible, but at least you have tore that medicine and you're assuming that you're taking that medicine, right? So that's a kind of another POC we did, which has been taken up in some of the things, but because a lot of economic viability also need to be done, whether it's viable to do for all the things. But for very high spend critical treatments, that is very useful, because from insurance perspective also, and also adhering the patient to really follow the medicine. I think that also improves, right? So the adherence of following the medicine prescribed by the doctor. So those are the kind of behavioral changes we can do from the technology perspective from patients and also from doctors. So that is main on the patient engagement. A lot of these things I talked about. So this is how we really do. A lot of work is behind this, more of AI, ML models in this. So just to give you a high level what it is, the key differentiator with GE Live when you compare to others. This is more of faster, better, and cheaper algorithm. It's all available on the APIs for you. We can generate synthetic data, whatever data you ask in the health industry or life science industry. I'll come to the GANs and video image, what it is all about. And we have so many things in this space, 500 plus healthcare and life sciences assets we have. Assets means some of the data assets we are talking about, which you can really look into it and then take it forward. And you can use it in your industry, what you want to do, or peripheral industry of the healthcare and life sciences, what you can do, including from COVID-19 solutions we have done. So mainly, I think this is all most of the people have started doing now. It's more of contact tracing, identifying contact tracing and other things which we have done there. So this is mainly on, we work with the Stanford AI lab. Basically, it's a simulator. This is mainly to see how the policy intervention will help to reduce the COVID-19 or pandemic. So this is a different kind of a research which we engaged with Stanford because of this COVID which started, and we started doing this analysis. And then this is being widely used with Stanford and also with conjunction with US government. So a lot of these things we have done from research perspective. Okay, let me go to the VLife key solutions. This is more of ultrasound images, and I like to bring you something what we have done from ultrasound also, right? See what happens in ultrasound. We are working closely with Fujitsu. What is happening is Fujifilms, that also they do ultrasound. When you really see VAR and the areas where it is very localized, but somebody has to be done some endoscopy or something has to be done scanning. But how do you really do that? Because you cannot access that place with a big machine, or we cannot bring the person to an hospital which has these facilities, because it takes a lot of time. But it's very critical for us to know what is happening there with the person, the patient, and need to get required additional medical treatment immediately. So how do we do that in the war scenario, for example, at the borders? What happens? So it's a kind of an handheld device, a scanner, in which we can really do the scanning. So we have written multiple things, programs in that. And then also what we have done is based upon the images. Obviously, these are all data driven because we have scanned into multiple scans. And based upon these scans, we have arrived at the ML and said that, okay, if you have, for example, we are showing on the right-hand side, right? So where you have some issues, then we can easily predict. So what is happening in this industry is, as the industry, you would have heard something like AI doctor. So more of AI doctor is coming into play. And then, in fact, the software will really tell you what is the problem, any bone issue or any other issue when you scan or endoscopy, anything done, there's a problem. And then doctor has to just verify and then certify, yes, this is, or maybe there may be additional things doctors can do. But we are all reducing the time in which to diagnose, I think, right? So that is very important. So those are the kind of things what we do in this space. Then this is video analysis. How do the pre-treatment, I think more of the recovery rate, how do we really do? If some person is able to, I think we talked about the J&J, what we have done, this is a platform. Similar to that, this is the post-recovery, how the person is recovering. And then this is from the telemedicine perspective, from remote, how do we really do that? So the multiple technologies involved in that, you can see from the video, and now the image is captured, and then how do we really calculate the angle, and then when everything angle is to the perfect thing, then we say, okay, you're recovered, because the person need not come to hospital again and again to really do that. So definitely in our country, I think we have a long way to go, but yes, this will start soon, right? But this is available, and even in advanced country, it's not prevalent, but it has started to, people have started using this right now. So this is more of the incision, what any operations or anything you've done, how it is getting cured. This is more of YOLO architecture, that you only look once, that kind of architecture, which really gets and detect, basically you have to detect the probability based upon this image, what do you think when it will get cured? So we have gone to that extent from the data usage, right? It's all analysis based upon the data you have fed, based upon algorithm you have fed. Based upon that, it gives you, okay, incision probability is 72%. So it's all fine, right? If it is 80-90%, it should be okay. If low, then it's a problem. So we need to take action. So those are the kind of things we are doing with the VLife data. This is more of generative adversarial networks. So this is again more of imaging network. This imaging network can be used everywhere. What I talked about, few of the scanners and other things. So those things are being used from this. Then again, this is more of protein image classification that also we have done. This is very advanced stage. A lot of different things people are doing in this space. A lot of research is also going. I just want to let you know that, okay, these are the different kind of things what we really do. I mean, when we do software industry, it's not only programming. We need to have a lot of domain knowledge, a lot of this research, what is going on in this industry. So a lot of these things need to be there, and we are working on these kind of area and space also. So I talked about Stanford, but we work with University of Texas and then Indiana Bioscience Research Institute, and we have done multiple research with other areas also. It's more on time to time, different things comes up, and then we want to add and expand our V-Life also. So we do work with these institutes and then get generating that AI/ML model also, and the algorithm also required from this in research institutes, because they do have do research, and we also collaborate with them. And then we do additional research, and then we have a common point of view on each and everything what we bring to table in the V-Life platform. So these are different technologies from the V-Life. This is more of just for the technologies who are in the call, what all things we use, just for information. So that's very much I have. So I will open up for questions. I don't know whether it was very useful for you or how it was, but I thought I would just give you a glimpse of what we do, how this industry is shaping up, and then future will be still more data driven, still more algorithm driven, still more telemedicine, all those kind of things will be there. This is just to give you how this industry will be in the future. I mean, even in India, it will change because we are good adopters of technology faster. I strongly believe that these things will come to India very fast, and it will change a lot, because for us, getting the rural medication is very important. How do we really do the rural is through technologies. I think this will help us a lot, and a lot of these things are coming to India also. I'll stop here and then open up for questions or anything, your reactions, initial reactions.
Thank you, sir. To start the question answer round, I had to first thank you for giving us these great insights about healthcare. I'm pretty sure all of us are delighted to know that healthcare has so much scope, especially when it comes to technology. And I also have a question for you. I have worked in product lifecycle management, the other PLM. So when you said PLM, that is provider lifecycle management, I was kind of intrigued looking at a new facet of it.
Yes.
So I on a high level, I related that what PLM, product lifecycle management does for provider lifecycle management might be doing for the provider. But for clarity, could you throw some light on how these two domains can interrelate and help each other?
So, see, I've also worked in product lifecycle management. So that is more of when you, for example, in Microsoft, right? So because Microsoft was my client also sometime back. Google was also my client. Apple was my client. So I've done work with them. And then when you do a product, I mean, it's an interesting thing because you need to really, I think you guys would have read in your academic studies also about all those things, right? So it's more of the life cycle of a product, and then how do you really, it's kind of inverted bathtub. How do you really start the product? How do you really make it die? Or how do you really give it more fillip or add more features to really enhance the product life? All those kind of things. And a lot of research initially to be done, how it peaks up and how do you really maintain, and tables, and then you really come down, the plateaus and then come down. So those are all product lifecycle management, and how do you really do that? It's both software or hardware, whatever you are doing. And also how you are going to sell, licensing, all those kind of stuff. But here it is more of provider lifecycle management, as I talked about, right? It's a completely different, I mean, acronym seems to be same, but it's completely different from the provider. As I told you, the payer, provider. So payer is more of insurance, provider is more of the doctors, clinics, and hospitals. So how do you really start? Suppose you want to really start a clinic. Okay, so you have started a clinic. So now, what about doctors? What about the clinicians? What about the certification? How to get the government approval? All those kind of stuffs are there, right? So now, for that, how do you really onboard a doctor? It's basically like in simple terms, you will be discussing with doctor how many hours you can spend consulting in this hospital, how many hours you can do, all those kind of things, right? It's all onboarding a doctor. How do you really onboard the doctor? So finalizing a contract with the doctor and then entering the doctor into this. And then when appeals and grievances comes, then how do we really relate to the doctor or to the clinic when there is some issue with some people, patients, right? How do you do that? So provider lifecycle management is completely different from product lifecycle management.
To add on to this question, could you throw some light on how applications like Practo link to provider lifecycle management?
Yeah. So Practo, so for example, in US, if you have gone and seen, always you can go and Google WebMD, for example, right? It's nothing but like our Practo, right? So what it does is, this company, whatever the company, WebMD or Practo, whatever the company, has entered an agreement with the doctors. And they have entered an agreement with doctors that, okay, this is the fee I'll be quoting, and then 80% of the fee will come to you, 20% will be for me, and the payment terms are like this. They will have different things, right? And then also there are some certifications we call more of reviews and other things. Right? A lot of people will write review, and then there'll be review marks or some patient feedback. Based upon that, the rating of the doctor or the rating of the clinic will happen. So that is the kind of thing what will happen in practice. It's more of the provider solution. So which really exposes you to different doctors for different kind of diseases where you want to go. And then they will have a contract with the provider. So that is how the doctors are engaged.
Thank you, sir. That was really insightful.
Thanks.
Morning, sir. I had a question. I came across an article yesterday that Virtusa was leveraging analytics and AI to collect data from surgically embedded devices and transfer data into cloud server so that it can be visible through a mobile app, so that to facilitate remote telemetry and remote monitoring. So is BeLive making use of that? Or
BeLive definitely is part of that. Because what is happening is this is more of intrusive. So we need to collect the data, what is happening really with the healing in the bone or anywhere in the surgical implementation, what we do. I think you talked about, I think I talked about the digital surgery platform. Something related to that, but it's a different one. BeLive is part of that because we collect the data, because collecting the data is fine, but how you really analyze and then accurately, at least 98% you come closer to what exactly is the issue or the problem, and then advise the remedial action. So that is what is more important. So that is what it helps really the algorithms.
And one more thing.
Morning, sir.
Just a follow-up question. Is it being used in India? This technology is getting prevalent in India? Or?
Not yet. But I'm not aware. Maybe it is already. But as I said, we are good technology adopters. I think it will all come soon. But only thing, the regulations is very important because ICMR has to approve here. So then only we can really start.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Good morning. Akshay Dinde.
Yes, Akshay.
Sir, I have a question here. Like the pharma and logistic companies have a big challenge ahead. Like we don't have a COVID vaccine today, but whenever an approved vaccine is launched, the task of delivering that vaccine to each and every individual will be a challenge. And as I've read somewhere that these vaccines will be temperature sensitive, like requiring to be stored at -4 to -94 Fahrenheit. And our logistic infrastructure, specifically the cold chain, is not ready to handle that sort of demand. And given the temperature sensitivity of this vaccine, there are a lot of chances that it maybe gets spoiled waiting on the hangar or somewhere in the Bay Area. I came across some article that Virtusa is working on digital process automation, like to reduce the delay in clinical trials, like with the broad use criteria approval and based on integrative research. My question is on similar grounds, like can Virtusa help in solving this cold chain logistical issues, and how? Because I saw all those slides, but this one I didn't find it over there.
Right. So when you say that clinical trials, it's more like I think you're all reading about the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of the clinical trials of the vaccines, which is going on, right? So we do help in those things. We got a lot of things in that area space we have done, and we are working on those things. That is fine. But when you talked about this cold supply, it's more of you're talking about logistics. This is more from the supply chain perspective. How do you really go to, for example, in the nth place in Uttar Pradesh or nth place in Tamil Nadu, somewhere, right? How do you really go into the rural space? So that is definitely, it's a cold thing. I don't think we are into that kind of a supply chain area where we'll do. But nevertheless, we can really do some consulting and advisory, but not definitely institutionalize anything, because it's all handled by the pharma supply chain companies, distributors mainly.
Sir, softwares which can be used to track this shipments.
Definitely, see those things. Yeah, those things are all already there in something called pharmacovigilance. That is where the clinical trial you're talking about and other things, and also pharma distribution. So in pharma distribution, how it's really manufactured, because we call API from different medicines are manufactured by different companies and APIs. And you will have heard that when this Chinese issue are coming, then a lot of pharma is starting to come to India and start the API. API is nothing but some of the pharmaceutical industry that formulate medicine, and then that will be combined to make a medicine, right? So those are the kind of different things comes, and we track all, so we can do those kind of work in the pharma industry. And we can also, because see, logistics is a separate industry. We have a separate thing, not my group, but there is a separate group where we do this supply chain and logistics, which do the tracking. So they do where it is going, how it is going, temperature, whatever you talked about. It's available in the market, even in India. How do we really track it, and then how we do? Because let us take example of even cold storage, for example, horticulture, right? From Bangalore, Lalbagh, for example, a lot of horticulture products go in a frozen truck. So how it really reaches there, how it is maintained, monitored, all those things are all done when from place to place, from Lalbagh to where it goes. So those kind of things are done. So because I'm aware of this, I'm taking an example, right? So those things are done. So it's possible to really monitor those things.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Morning, sir. This is Ali.
Hari.
Yeah. So, sir, your insight on the topic was really great, because I can clearly relate how a person, when goes under surgeries, what he has to pass through. While going through your slides, there was one slide that you collaborated with Stanford to assess on the probability of some things. So basically, my question was, what is the probability? I mean, like the things that we are doing, or the research that's going to do, and what will be the outcome? So can you share some?
So research is mainly to do with how to improve the accuracy, right? Because you have multiple data, the different patient data you have. And then because let us say the incision, for example, that's what I think you're talking about. So when you have multiple patients, we have seen how the incision is, any operations done, stitches are done, it is cured. What is the curing time? And then depending upon people to people, how it is cured. It's all basically a data, right? When it started, when it operated, when it cured, and how long it took, how much medicines that person took. All this data will be for a person. Like that, you have multiple persons. Then basically with this, we arrive at a model that, okay, this is how it really, what are the different varying factors, and then what we come with an algorithm on the factors. It's all your ML kind of algorithm. And then we come to a conclusion that we have seen that, so we draw a curve and say that, okay, if you want this accuracy of 98%, this is the model which you need to follow. And then that's the model, then we really research and then say that, and then agree with whatever the institute or wherever, and then publish that, okay, so this is the best way to do the incision surgery and also the curing time. And this is the, basically it's like image. For the image, how do you really tell that, okay, the probability of curing is 98% or 100% or 70%. How do you do that? So based upon the images, multiple images we have seen, multiple data points we have seen, it should be huge. It's not like hundreds or 200, it should be millions and millions of records. Then only you can really come up with a particular accuracy. Otherwise, accuracy will be depending upon a sample, cannot be done. So those kind of researches are done, and that's how we come to that model, which will be helpful. And we will keep an API. So then, for example, some of the clinics can use this API as a service and say, okay, I'm seeing this incision, so I think this will get cured based upon whatever I see from the data, what I'm seeing. So that helps doctors and clinics to ensure that they can give the right treatment, and also after the surgery treatment, right? After the surgery treatment.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That answers. Just one thing that Virtusa uses natural language processing.
Yes.
So that is for basically for chatbots, or is it something that is used across?
Yeah, it's across multiple things we use. Definitely chatbot also we use.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Hi, sir. Hi, sir. This is Prasun.
Prasun, yeah.
Yeah, sir. So I wanted to ask regarding the strategy part of the market penetration you want to have in India as well. As you said.
Sorry, Prasun, can you be louder?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the strategy of the market penetration you want to have in India. So as you said, you have much more market in US and other countries. So in India, will you be like collaborating with the existing players, or how the strategy will be?
So definitely see, I belong to America's division from Virtusa perspective, and we focus mainly on Americas. If you really see our revenue, majority is from Americas, and then we are last year we started to focus on rest of the world, including Europe and Asia and other places, and slowly we'll be penetrating into that. So right now, how do we collaborate with India? I'm not really sure, but definitely we'll expand in the coming years.
Okay, sir.
Thanks, Prasun.
Sir, Praneeth this side.
Yeah, Praneeth.
Yeah, sir. So thank you for the presentation, first of all. And I had a question regarding, you talked about module and
yeah,
which involved like IoT and data insights. Which it made use of those features to predict the probability of accidents, right? And on the other side, you also talked about VLive, which looked like more of a B2B end-to-end solution, mainly focused on software. So where do you see the industry heading from here? Like, there's a software path and hardware path, which Virtusa is both working on. So where do you see a convergence taking place, or what's the roadmap you perceive in the coming future?
So I think it's all integrated. Everything is integrated, because if you have recently read some articles, there are some, like I talked about the Bluetooth blister. When you open tablet, immediately it goes to the Bluetooth and tells that, okay, a tablet is open, right? So those kind of things. It's all integrated from industry perspective. We cannot live only with the hardware, like what I talked about, even the scanners and other things, which really will have both the hardware and also the software embedded into that. It's all together. Nothing is away. In VLive, what we're talking about is it's more of API exposed to you, which you can adapt into your any hardware you're manufacturing, or any programs or anything you use. So it's all multiple usage you can do. It's all to be integrated. It cannot be standalone anymore.
So thank you.
Good morning, sir. This is Aman Balaya.
Aman, okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much for letting us start our day with this wonderful talk today. So my question is with respect to the Wellness Health app that we were discussing. So in that, I think one digital surgery point also came in. So when we see digital surgery, and we also see some concepts like, the inclusion of AI and VR technologies and their usage when it comes to digital surgery. So how, I just wanted to know like how feasible it is from the industry point of view, or where do we stand today with respect to the when it comes to inclusion of artificial intelligence in the sector actually.
I talked about the AI doctor. So we have come to a tipping point where AI doctor is really helping in a lot of things. AI doctor is nothing but I talked about the data. It's all behind the data. How the data, we are able to arrive at the algorithms, and then how the algorithm is able to really relate to the present, what you're showing, and then how it relates and tells you the issue. And I talked about the scanners, in which AI kind of thing, which really analyzes and tells you, right? So all those things, digital surgery, if you really see, it's nothing but to ensure that a smooth surgery happens for a patient. So how it is pre, what are the steps that person needs to take, we are monitoring, and similarly post, how it's done. Nothing but every image and everything, digital is used just like that, right? Because it's all your images and photos and videos of a particular issue in a knee or elbow or whatever the surgery is happening. So based upon that, the data seen, and then whatever we data, I talked about to Ali's question on more of the data, what we do in the V-Life and other things, right? So it's nothing but the data is taken, algorithms driven, and then based upon the images are related, and based upon that, you do all those things. I talked about the YOLO architecture and other things, what we do. So all of things goes behind that. So that will tell us really whether the surgery is going on well or not well, what steps need to be taken. And from your question, you talked about digital surgery, and sorry, I missed your question.
Yeah, so I was just referring to the usage of AR and VR technologies into this, like maybe going a step further.
Yeah, it will definitely go further to that, because I talked about the AI doctor alone, right? So it will go to the AI. I think your question was stopped an AI doctor. So that AI doctor will be in play, because when you say telemedicine, earlier we used to have in our Indian environment some clinic where first a small doctor will really review, and then they will move on to the specialist if really required for some attendance. So I think the day will come when the AI doctor at home itself you can engage, and then you can really see whether you're good or bad. And based upon that, then you can go and visit a real specialist. I think that's the kind of a thing will come in future. For that, definitely, when you want to see the movement of the body or something, when you have this bone kind of issues, definitely this everything augmented things will come into picture. Definitely that will come.
Like we have concepts of holographic projection and all, so might come in future.
It's all in the future. Definitely, it's all going to be. That's why I'm saying this field, healthcare and life sciences, is going to really go technologically advanced, and also necessity right across the globe for the patient. I mean, if you really see the kind of the lifespan is increasing. I mean, people are, even in India, the lifespan is increasing. That means what? A lot of old age people, a lot of people will have a lot of kind of diseases or health issues, which we need to do, attend to. And also that means a lot of money for the health insurers because they need to pay, right? But at the same time, how do you pay correctly? How do you, also from any country perspective, they should not spend much on the health. How do you reduce that? There are also precautions. And all these things will help in that kind of, it's not only for India, it's across the globe.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Sir, I was just wondering, when you were telling about the products that Virtuous are helping, the testing part of things, how does it happen? Because it's like a life in a death situation.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I talked about that in FMC, for example, right? Testing will happen for at least a minimum 6 months when you do something on a product. And when you test, it's called as more of verification and validation. You can see life sciences products, V&V, you can see verification and validation. Because you have to enter also the documentation, because there are a lot of US government regulations are all there, where you have to USDA drug things are there, where you need to document things. So those are also there. So when you do that, if there is any bug we come across, let us say even a small bug, but you have to stop the testing, you have to again fix that bug, again you have to start from number one. So that is how this industry is all about, because it's all life, right? You need to be close to 100% perfection, everything. I'm 100%, I'm talking about 99.79 sometimes. So then close to that level.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Hi, sir. This is Ravi.
Yes, Ravi.
Yeah. So we are talking about like a lot of analytics and data in this healthcare sector. Can you also share some insights about the security of this data and the like exposure to various vulnerabilities?
See, for example, absolutely, Ravi, because it's important when we talk about this EHR, EMR data, we are talking about some personal data of somebody that cannot be shared, right? So it will all be masked. It will not be, you will not know whose data is what. Otherwise, it will be very public and it's all related to a person's medical record. That cannot be done. So it's all, some synthetic data will be given to you. It cannot, because if you say that Ravi Shankar is having this problem, this issue, this thing, and you are completely exposed to the everybody. That cannot be. So this is a data security issue. So it's very, very highly secure. First of all, some of the data you cannot take outside of the country, number one, and some of the data cannot be even shared within the country because until you have the patient's consent. So a lot of restrictions are there in the data. So you need to really, data regulation is very, very high. So that becomes a security thing. And a lot of, because you need to also undergo a lot of the security, there are a lot of forties and other things are there, which really scans your software before even you go for a UAT or something to ensure that there is no security vulnerability in your software, that nobody can hook into it and then look into the data kind of thing, right? Or anything. So those kind of things also are a must, especially when I talked about Fujitsu, when I talked about FMC or J&J, those kind of product related things, it is very, very high on the security content. Definitely that is becoming more and more important because suddenly, let us assume that in FMC, I talked about the personal dialysis machine, right? Somebody, if I want to kill a person in dialysis, I can log in from somewhere and then log into the particular dialysis machine and ensure that increase of pressure or something can be done, right? So it's all vulnerability. The vulnerability need to be killed because you don't know where the world is going. It can go to that extent, right?
Yeah. So can we say, sir, that it might possess a problem somewhere in the analytics part of the industry, like the data limitations? Say, for example, you mentioned that some of the data cannot be outsourced, moved outside US. So
Correct.
does that possess a problem over here?
No, it doesn't problem because we generate, because a lot of tools are available now to generate synthetic data from there. So synthetic data is now of masking and give some correlated data. So those things are available in the market, which we use. So in that way, it's not a real problem for us.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So to get an highlight over here, if Virtusa is looking to come to India, there is something called as My Health Record Portal by the Government of India. So how does these portals help Virtusa, and do they integrate the data present over there for a larger audience?
Right now, we are not focusing anything. As I told, somebody was asking how we are going to do in India and all. So not much we are doing here. So definitely, a lot of other companies would have done that integration with My Health Portal. So definitely that will help. See, because our network is an issue, right? You really see, I will go to my family doctor. I'll go to some physician who is my family doctor. The family doctor will know only by knowing you for years together. There's nothing like a medical record maintained in a system it's accessible to everybody. So ours is completely different compared to what they are, but we will slowly go to that level, right? But it will take some time. Like Aadhaar has come. Similarly, we have to link all these medical records also, so that when I go to a different hospital, different insurer, that person, of course, we need to give a consent that yes, you can have access to my medical record. Then automatically, even in US, that is rare. Patient's consent is required when the person shifts from one network to other network. Then patient's consent is required to really say that, okay, you can go through my medical records. So that is required. So like that, I think long way to go. This data is stored and accessed, but not available for everybody because everything needs to be this data needs to be come to the API. Somebody can use it. Any industry can use it, or any hospital can use it. Any clinics can use it when the patient goes there. Because when you put a medical record number, automatically the data should come and tell, okay, this person had surgery 5 years back, 2 years back, this person had a problem, all those kind of medical records.
To extend on that, US has a lot of health insurance policies which cover most of the medical expenses. And Virtusa, the platforms it provides have a lot of software integrations, and one can imagine it will be costly for an individual to bear. In terms of that, do you think it would be a very big challenge to enter developing countries, even a country like India, which is growing fast?
No, in India, if you really see, our insurance is still very cheap when you compare to other places. And also, pre-existing diseases, all those things are also covered. So in that way, I would say that that is not a deterrent at all, right? Because it's all how do you cover the risk? Because you have huge population, and then you know that particular band of population doesn't have that kind of diseases. It will not come. It's only for insurance. And then there is such a vulnerable population which they will have. So they will do all these calculations and see how much daily my spend outgo will be there. Based upon that, they will underwrite, right? So for example, somebody at 85, as an insurance company, I will not take that insurance. I will say that no, suppose you want to enroll now, I'll say no, I cannot enroll you because you have a lot of diseases and all of these things. I cannot give you insurance. So those kind of things can happen.
Thank you, sir. Guys, any other question?
Hello, sir. I just wanted to say that I agree that India will take a long time to develop this kind of IT infrastructure of record keeping. Like I keep all my records scanned in my mobile phone, such as all those. So it all stays at one place and everything. But I have seen many doctors who say I cannot accept it. Like you need to bring that paper with you, and and this digital, I don't understand anything about it. And sorry, but you need to bring that. Otherwise, I will not accept them. Such things are there in the market, and also there is a thing that when you keep a good record, you cannot do that corruption. That is a big thing. Like doctors, who takes a receipt from a doctor? Like if you go for an OPD, there is no receipt. I see doctors earning 30,000 rupees in the evening, and it is not recorded. So people won't prefer the intervention of this technology. I think if government makes a regulation to control these things, there is a more possibility for penetration of technology in this field in India.
Absolutely, Akshay. I think it's all should be driven centrally from government to get some regulation around this. That's why I'm saying, because the problem is there will be a lot of opposition for this, right? Because a lot of people will lose money. And that is why we are not able to really get into a better space. But I think that's why I said it will take some time to people to really understand it's beneficial for them also. So I think it will take some time. But whatever points you told is absolutely right. I mean, that is how it's really happening. Very pathetic situation, but we need to improve a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, can we conclude? Any other last question?
I don't think so, sir. Yes. To conclude, I would really like to thank you. In these tough times of COVID, this session was very enlightening for us on how technology can help healthcare become faster and more efficient. And definitely, as a batch with more than 50% people coming from technological background, it was a very good insight for us that how we can contribute in the growth of the sector for the greater good. I sincerely hope that going forward, we can learn more from you and contribute to this domain. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to address this session. It was a really good energizer for us in this morning.
So thank you, and thanks to entire participants who participated in this. I hope you had at least taken some one or two things from this. I think that's my intent, to just understand how this industry is all about. And thanks for your patience listening to me and also asking some good questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great day so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.